Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Season 2 finale Sunday. This is the Season 2 finale of the Let's Go Devils podcast, Season 2, Episode 32. I am your host, Sam Wu. I have to be very, very quiet because I'm not in the bunker studios. I got a neighbor that really wants to wake up early tomorrow morning to go to work, so I got to be quiet. I'm here with Beer Baron. He's on the top. Shorts Guy's on the bottom left.
Sup?
What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the 2018-2019 that was. Well, I like to just talk about the first 4 games into the season, but but there's lots to talk about. There's the draft positioning coming up very soon. We'll know where the Devils are going to be drafting. Also, I think we are rooting for Tampa to lose. Am I correct? Because that helps with the draft positioning of a draft pick that the Rangers may have. I saw something about that on one of the Facebook groups. I think it was Devils Diehards that was mentioning that. There's lots of stuff to talk about. What we're going to be doing with the podcast this summer, the off season, this and that. Guys, it's been a pleasure this year doing the podcast. But let's focus on the Devils right now. They won yesterday. They've secured their positioning for that first overall pick if they were to get it. So I'll Beer Baron, say something. I'm running out of things to say.
I don't know, man. I watched yesterday's game and I just kind of I'm excited for Tuesday because we get to see where they're going to draft. And it was just one of those seasons that ended, and it was just like kind of like a sigh of relief, but at the same time, it's sad. You know, it definitely didn't go the way we wanted it. But at the same time, for us, we had a blast this year. You know, we accomplished a lot of things. We had a lot of live events.
I think Beer Baron.
I was listening to him talk, and all of a sudden it was like quiet, and I was looking down at the final standings from the games yesterday, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, Beer Baron froze.
Yeah, look,
oh well,
Beer Baron is in a flux capacitor right now. He went back to 1985. So I'll just switch over to us, Shorts Guy, till Beer Baron comes back. I bet you he's freaking out right now. But yeah, so to continue what Beer Baron was saying, as he's frozen right now. Is he frozen? No. Actually, you know what?
He just said he may be back.
I'm back. I don't know why that happened. My computer keeps on glitching, and then I'm out.
Yeah, and it is what it is. It's the last. Hey, you know what? It's kind of the thing. We have to have at least one glitch an episode minimum. I think that's our minimum. So we should maybe try to eliminate one glitch an episode next season. That should be a goal. Looking at the final standings, finishing solidly in third to last, which sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, the plus, and we've spoken about this. The plus is we got to see a lot of the youth that was going to be able to come up. You know, on top of that, the other teams around the league got to see the youth that we have in our system, which means that the other teams in the league could say, well, you know, we like this kid. What would you take for him? So we've put what we have on display as well, for hopefully an off season, which the team makes some moves to improve the team and go forward, because there's some key signings coming up soon that have to be done sooner rather than later, in order to keep this team going forward.
Yeah, honestly, and no, Eric, we're not running out of things to say. It's just kind of like one of those things where, like, it's the end of the year. It's like there's been so many things that have been going on. In all honesty, I don't know. Hold on. I just
maybe you're running out of things to say.
I am. Sorry, I'm like so distracted. I just like, I don't know. The end of the season kind of came up, and it was just like one of those uneventful things. And I know a lot of people want us to be like super jacked up for the actual draft, but like I said last week, like I can't get excited for it until we know exactly where we're going to be drafting. So after Tuesday, I'll be hyped up about either having a top 3 pick or having within the top 6. So knowing where we're going to draft makes it a little bit easier to get excited about like who the potential person is going to be. For me, it's like, no matter who it is, it seems like this draft is like, deep enough where if they draft even at 6, that they're going to still be able to get some top end talent. And people we drafted Zaka at 6 and look at what he's doing. Dude, it doesn't matter. Sometimes people take players take time to develop, and you get lucky. And you look at Martin St. Louis, he wasn't even drafted, or he was like super late.
Yeah, he was undrafted. Yeah. No, the draft is always a gamble, because you never know. You never know what you're going to get with the players. You never know if they're going to pan out the way you want. On top of that, it seems to be the trend too is you don't even know if the guy you're going to draft in Vancouver is going to want to be on your team and going to actually come and eventually be on your team. And we saw the slew of players like that over the last couple seasons that were drafted by one team but going to another. So
Jake is taking shots at me, buddy. I'm sorry. You leave Mikey McLeod out of this conversation.
He still needs to learn how to tape a stick properly too.
Yeah, seriously, that is true.
But and Eric, you are correct that top 2 are not a gamble, but
that's not true. That's not
shouldn't
true.
Be a gamble.
It should not be a gamble. top 2 can still be a gamble. Look at Yakupov. Look, there's plenty of number 1 overall picks. There's plenty of top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5 picks that never pan out, that never really make it into the NHL or have super high hopes and then never really become what they're supposed to become. So Yakupov being the first one that comes to my mind. But I don't know. Honestly, what I would like to see is I would like to see this team get better in different areas. Defense, obviously. There's Fox, who told Carolina that he is not going to be signing with them. He's a defenseman from Harvard. So, there's a lot of things. Hopefully the Devils can go after him, kind of like the same way they went after Will Butcher. Maybe, that would improve the defense greatly. If Walsh decides to come out of college, if he stays in college, I don't know what's going to happen with him. Davies signed with the Devils with a 2-year entry-level contract. So there's a lot of hits coming up. Yeah, exactly. Ty Smith, I think he's ready to make the next big jump, and I think that kid's going to be a stud. And look at where they drafted him. So you never know what the hell's going to happen.
And not even Brodeur was drafted below Trevor Kidd because Calgary wanted Kidd. So right there's another, who became the club legend in goal. Someone wanted another player before him. So another goaltender specifically right before. So it's the draft is, with Kakko and Hughes coming in, they should, from everything that we've seen, they should be ready to go. And you would hope a 95% guarantee that they're going to be good, but they could still be a bust too once they get into the league and once they start playing at the top level in the world. They may not do good, which more than likely not, but there's always that chance. So,
guys, I want to interrupt here. I did a watch party again, like I did last podcast. Jamie O'Riordan, I went to grade school with him. He asks, and he's being a wise ass here. He's trying to troll my watch party. He's asking, are you going to mention the Hurricanes beat the Devils to clinch their playoff spot?
Yeah, I would mention it, and then I'd follow it up with who cares?
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, it could have been anybody. The only team that I wouldn't want to see do that to us is the Rangers. I couldn't care less if it was Carolina. I couldn't care less if any other team in the NHL beat us to claim. Dude, our season sucked. What do you want us to say? Oh, man, I was so bummed out. No, I don't give a crap. Good for Carolina. Let them have fun. Dude, they're having a blast down there, so who cares?
Yeah, well,
and not
this
for
is
nothing,
what I have to say.
Not for nothing. We know that they weren't tanking, but every loss was going to help us in the grand scheme of things going towards the end of this.
Well, Jamie said he's in section 1. He was in section 109. He was there. Well, let me tell you a little bit of Jamie's background. He's a great guy. Before I throw him under the bus, he's a good guy. These are all jokes. I don't mean any harm, but growing up, he was like one of many Ranger fans in middle school and in grade school, and when the Rangers played the Devils, those series, it was a heated match. Being in middle school, being one of few Devils fans back then, it was a 20-1 ratio in favor of the Rangers, only because people in my town were cheap asses and they didn't get Sports Channel, so they watched the Rangers because it's free on MSG. That's the only reason why. Okay, and he's a beautiful family. Relocated to North Carolina.
Kind of married this dude or just talk him up?
No, but he likes redneck hockey. But all I have to say is he went to Purdue and Notre Dame, and Penn State is much better than those football teams. Drew Brees sucks, and that was a great non-call in the NFC championship game. And look, your Yankees are a bunch of steroid users that win freaking championships. Okay, anyway, those are just jokes. But anyway, thank you, Jamie, for chiming in, even though he says 99 points, Devils still suck. But you know what, Jamie? At least my team has won 3 cups since we were born, and your little Rangers, or should I say, Edmonton Oilers of '94, just won. Anyway, go ahead. I was just trash talking for a little bit, but I do have something to say, though.
Thank you, Eric. I'm so sorry to jump in on you on that one, but Alexander Daigle, if you want a perfect example of a failed number 1 pick, there you go. That totally slipped my mind. Thank you, Eric. That's a great point.
Yeah, I just saw that too. I'm still the same with you, like we've spoken about. It's like I'll be excited on Tuesday when I know where we're going to draft, and we could fall back in the draft.
Yeah.
I almost would love to see Ottawa fall all the way back as far back in the draft as they can, only because that pick goes to Colorado, who made the playoffs.
Yeah, and their team is so good. They have so much talent. We talked about this last week. They have so much talent coming up through the pike. But honestly, we could get excited, and the reality is what this team looks like now is not what it's going to look like, come October. And you can imagine that Ray's already kind of got some irons in the fire, so to speak, and kind of getting everything lined up and figuring out what the hell he's going to do. But who knows? What if they end up, the pick drops to number 6 and they take that number 6 pick and they end up trading it to somebody for an already established player? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so there's things could happen between now and the actual draft.
It's the day of the draft.
The day of the
draft. Happen. It could happen right before we pick, like what happened in New Jersey.
Exactly. God, that was crazy. I remember some of that because I was pretty hammered.
We were all there for that.
I don't know. It's just like, let's see what happens. I think it's weird because there's no definitive is this guy definitely coming to New Jersey? Is this guy not coming to New Jersey? I don't think Erik Karlsson has made a commitment to San Jose. So who knows? The sky's the limit. They have so much money, so much cap room, so much flexibility. But who knows? Who knows what the hell this team's going to look like? That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I would hope that this summer's free agency group is going to be a lot better than last year's. There really wasn't a lot last year, and they didn't do much in the grand scheme of things. By not doing much, we had no clue that we were going to have the injuries that we had. So in the grand, exactly in the grand scheme of things, not doing much really kind of hurt us a lot because there were no backups. Everyone was down. Everyone went down, and then we had nothing there. So the hope is that they pull off some deals, and we've kind of opened up our shutters and been like, here you go. This is everything we have in our system. If you see a guy you like, all right, well, let's talk. That could have been a lot of what they were doing too by bringing up all of the Binghamton Devils.
Yeah, and I mean Eric
Lippert to play.
Eric Lippert, if I butchered your last name, in our Facebook group said, they also have a ton of picks this year, so you could bundle them up and you can send them out to somewhere and try to, pry somebody out of a system too.
Yeah.
It's just, like you're saying, like that could have also, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise when you have that many injuries and you bring all these young kids up. You kind of have a dress rehearsal for your team and maybe possibly for other teams too. And then you have guys like, I know somebody in our Facebook group was just asking about our thoughts about Connor Carrick. And honestly, I think he did all right. I think he did pretty well. And you think about it, we got him and a 3rd round pick for Ben Lovejoy. So that's if Carrick can pan out and actually, become like a decent defenseman and you get a 3rd round pick out of it, I think that's a huge win for Ray Shero.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought he panned out quite well toward, for the end of the season for us. It was a good pickup. And then that pick, that pick could potentially be big because there are always a lot of late round picks that wind up being pretty good in the NHL. So the NHL is one of those leagues where you can pick someone in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and they could end up being a difference maker.
Yeah, exactly.
So all those late round guys are, we were talking earlier, they could be a difference maker as well. or even just a solid role player. If you can pick up a solid role player
Like Blake
later on
Coleman.
in the draft, yeah, that can just be part of a core, which would be fantastic too.
Yeah,
We
seriously,
have lots of options.
and there's a lot of people that were complaining about, yes, Mikey McLeod, yes, like, Bastien. There's a lot of guys that they're like, oh, these guys can't score and blah, 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 blah. You look at the progression of somebody like Blake Coleman, who's in a similar kind of build and ilk of a lot of these guys. You don't just, jump into the league and be that type of player and score 20 goals right off the bat. Like, it's something that you have to work towards. And like, having somebody like Blake Coleman kind of pave the way for a lot of these younger, a lot of the younger players is a great example of like what you can do if you really, work hard at it. I mean, I do put in a ton of time and it's really paid off. And I think that he showed, not only is he probably one of the most valuable players on this team, and I don't care what anybody says, he's killing penalties. He's out there in pressure situations. Like, he seems to be, almost like that John Madden Pandolfo kind of mold. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like he's going to be a huge role model for like some of these young kids coming up.
And that's what you want, and that's what you need. And think back to the '90s. The Devils were huge on bringing people up through the system and earning your chance. Coming up and taking the advantage you were given. And they haven't really done that recently, and they really haven't been bringing a lot up like they used to. So this may be the start of that again, and using that farm system wisely. But yeah, it's Coleman was that example. It's like, hey, here you go. I mean, it's possible to do this. It's possible to come up through the system and be successful at the NHL level. Which, if they're able to do that, then we definitely have a successful farm team. I know their record's not great, but let's think about it too. Over the last couple the last couple weeks of the season, we had almost all of Binghamton up on our team. It's crazy.
Jesus. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of people, and we say this for the last couple of weeks of like staying away from social media and things like that, of watching your team have a terrible season like this, and it just becomes a lot of infighting and the negativity and everything else that surrounds the team. That's like, while you're watching a season like this, you try to find all the positives you can. And I think, we hit on a lot of that stuff, like of all the young kids coming up and all these different things that happen. But there was something else that we got to see that was pretty amazing. We got to see the emergence of Mackenzie Blackwood. And
yeah,
I think the future looks really bright with him. And honestly, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of timeshare they're going to do next year, and to see what, Hines has in store for both the goaltenders, because Corey started to come together at the end of the year and started to play better and with a lot more confidence. And Blackwood, if you put a decent defense in front of him, I think is going to be a stud.
Yeah, and that's what I hope too. If you think back to, and I know there have been a lot of comparisons that have been made to Brodeur, right or wrong, whatever. But, when Brodeur took over the reins, he came up as the rookie behind, an established Chris Terreri.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the course of the season, wound up wrestling the starting role away from Chris Terreri, and then he never gave it up. So you could possibly see. I'm not anywhere near predicting that that's going to happen next season. However, by having another young kid work with Corey, who is getting towards the back end of his career, that's no secret there. But you have a guy like Corey work with Mackenzie Blackwood and kind of show him the ropes and force not only Blackwood to earn his position and possibly the starting position, but at the same time, could be that fire under Corey to keep himself up and moving and going forward and pushing his game forward as well too. So knowing that there could be someone right behind, could absolutely be good for both of them. And we had that with Kincaid there too, and Kincaid did what he did for us. He served as a fantastic backup. Now we shipped him off to Columbus, and good luck to him in the playoffs and stuff like that. But I'm kind of hoping that maybe Blackwood is the going to be the goalie of the future, which would be nice because we have to start thinking about that. We were a team that had, over 20 years just about of solid goaltending, or there's a whole generation of Devils fans that came up knowing only one starting goaltender. Like, you don't see that. And so now we're seeing how the other half lives of, having goaltenders that, may not always be the generational goaltender. So we'll see. We'll see what comes up.
I just want to give a shout out to Jerry. Jerry asked a question about, what are our thoughts about Jeremy Davies? And I want to respond to that because, this is something positive here that I'm going to state about Ray Shero. He found Jesper Bratt in the later rounds, round 6, I believe, or 5 or 6. I believe in that same draft, he found Jeremy Davies, kid out of Northeastern, I believe, and puck-moving defenseman, 7th round. 2-way contract he signed. I believe it was a 2-year deal. That defensive core is looking to be stacked of young players like Ty Smith, diamonds in the rough, later rounds drafting, which gives me hope with this draft. This is truly a deep draft, with the amount of picks that they have, part of this rebuild that they're doing are just young, quick, fast players that are puck moving to speed up that game, the transition from defense to offense, and they're going to have a lot of chips to play with if they draft well. So far, I was a little skeptical when Ray Shero took over with this scouting department. David Conti goes over to Las Vegas. They're in the Stanley Cup in their first year, Lou Lamoriello, obviously Bolts, his teams are in the playoffs, whether he's with Toronto or with the Islanders. I like what Ray Shero is doing here, but in regards to Jeremy Davies, keep stocking that farm system with defensemen. You can never get enough of these guys. Sorry, I was monopolizing time, but I want your thoughts on this kid.
No, you nailed it on the head. I completely agree. You can't have enough kids like him. And one thing about Davies that is really good is that he is one of those kids that is shown, just like Joey Anderson, doesn't start off on anybody's radar. Starts off kind of like one of these kids that not a lot of people expected a lot out of. Gets a chip on his shoulder, and he just has been working his ass off. And Davies is projecting to be, one of these defensemen that if he continues on this trend, can work his way into the NHL next season, can make that initial jump like right away. There's a lot of upside to his game. Honestly, I feel like if he has a strong camp, and depending on who or what our defensive situation looks like, I wouldn't be shocked to see him making that jump to the NHL, probably next season. But there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys in the system that look really good. That also gives you flexibility of, kind of something that Shursky hit on before. Can you take some of these younger guys and package them, together with a pick, send them to another team, get, something back in return that's already an established player, an established defenseman, or an established winger, or somebody that can help Taylor Hall with the scoring. And, so there's a lot of upside to this team. I don't think that anybody needs to be, down on what's going to happen this offseason, because I think this is going to be the season that you're going to see some major changes.
Yeah, and if the Devils take these last couple seasons and they have not been successful by any means. I mean, making the playoffs was great, but we're a franchise that was repeatedly making it past the first round, getting into the second round, Stanley Cup finals in the last 25 years. Or, my math is terrible. Last 20 years, sorry. So if the Devils start doing, if they start having a lot of playoff success, and if we win a cup or two or beyond that, all these seasons will be forgotten as far as how bad it felt and thinking that the Devils were going nowhere. They won't be forgotten as far as all the work that was put into getting to this point, but absolutely will these seasons be forgotten very quickly once the Devils start winning again too.
Well, it's that thing that we said last season. Winning solves everything.
Oh yeah,
right. It's all about winning. At last podcast, I was playing the quote unquote devil's advocate. John Hines, Ray Shero, specifically John Hines, going into next year. Where's the accountability? How long do you keep him on the leash? Is he on the hot seat next season?
Well, we talked about it. It depends on what the team looks like, right? If the team is completely restructured and there's a lot of talent that's brought in, and there's a lot of talent that's brought up, and there's a lot of optimism around the team. Taylor Hall coming back 100% healthy, and just all these other little things that are going to fall into place, then and
re-signed long term.
Exactly. And I mean, if
they got to re-sign him long term,
if Hines has a team that isn't 3/4 AHL players, and he's not playing, with three lines that are, basically trying to make a name for themselves to get into the NHL, then it becomes an accountability thing.
Joe writes, there's something interesting here that the Devils hired a new hockey analytics guy. He called, the godfather of analytics. Mm-hmm. This is what I have to say about that. I'm sure he's good. I'm sure whatever, but the turnover at the New Jersey Devils when it comes to analytics people is like they only last 6 to 8 months before they find a new person.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it. Maybe there's something that Ray wants that he's not getting, and he's going through personnel on these analytics. But it just seems like the turnover rate. They bring a staff in, and then they're gone in a year or less than a year or a year and a half, and then they get somebody new. But on all intents and purposes, from what I read, this guy's really good. But again, I'm not going to judge, until a year or two from now if he's still here. I don't know why there's such a turnover rate, but I'm sure there's some internal reasons for that.
Yeah, and bringing in an analytics guy that's supposedly the godfather of analytics in a year that we have a ton of draft picks. I'm not really surprised because you're going to want to get the best bang for your buck with all these picks. So you got to think that they may not be packaging a lot of these picks unless it's a deal that they just can't refuse.
Oh well, one thing I want to know. Sorry, I interrupt. One thing I want to know.
No,
I'm going to ask Joe about this guy, the godfather of analytics from Edmonton. Was he the one that provided Chiarelli the analytics between Adam Larson and Taylor Hall trade?
If so, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. Joe, if you could find that out, I appreciate it, and just type it in, in the Facebook group right now. By the way,
no, he said no. Chiarelli let him go when he became GM.
It's like though, coming from Edmonton though, speaking of Edmonton, they're an example of having lots of high picks and just not being able to put anything together. Which is sad and crazy that they can't put anything together with that team. And now it seems like that. Yeah, I was just going to mention, it seems like the players are getting tired of it. They want to do something more than lose.
David
don't blame
Holiday
him.
writes. David Holiday writes. Dello left because they didn't listen. He's in Edmonton on this, guys. I'm your source. LOL.
And David's always, and I got to tell you, David, we love you because we see you here every week. So thank you very much for that, for being our rep up in Edmonton. And then maybe he can actually, David, I got a direct question for you because I've been seeing all these little reports like popping up about Connor McDavid basically just being completely sick of the situation in Edmonton and saying like, you know what, I want out of here. I want to be traded. They talked about it on TSN the other day. I caught it on multiple sources, but I want to know if you are from Edmonton or if you're in the Edmonton area, what is the common feel of what's going on with that situation? Because we jokingly had a conversation about this, just texting each other, the three of us the other night, and I said I doubt it would happen, but it would be pretty crazy. And I think it was Sam that said I wouldn't be shocked if Shiro found a way to fleece them again. So
by dangling Mikey McLeod.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'd be okay with that.
You would.
I would.
You would sell out for Connor McDavid, your boy McLeod, going to Edmonton?
Dude.
Wow.
That's not even a question.
At that point, then we'll watch McLeod turn into this like explosive NHL superstar.
And we'll blame the analytics guy.
I wouldn't
There you
sign
go.
an 8-year if I was going to quit. I guess. Did he break his leg too? Hitting that?
Yeah, how's his
in the
leg?
last game?
How's his leg? You know, breaking a leg. I mean, that's like breaking a motor.
Yeah,
You need the legs.
He's also saying that he wants playoffs. I mean, everyone wants playoffs. Taylor Hall wants playoffs. That's why he left Edmonton. Well, I mean, he was, we picked him up in that trade, but that's, I guarantee Taylor Hall was hoping for playoffs here, and we still haven't been able to do that. So if, let's say, best case scenario, we somehow fleece Edmonton out of McDavid, that means that we absolutely have to push everything in to get to the playoffs and be a consistent playoff team. Especially if we're going to sell him on, or for it, just bring him here in general. He's not going to want to go from a non-playoff bound team to another non-playoff bound team. We have to show progress. And I did see someone ask in the group who we would want at 3, and I'm going back. Keith, Byram seems to be at least my choice for.
I agree.
If we have 3, and I think we're all in agreement here that Byram would be the best guy to take at 3.
And
Can
it's
you
so
imagine-
funny.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to
Go ahead.
start, Sam. It's so funny to say that because leading up to the draft, and it's just kind of superstition and it's kind of like whatever, but leading up to the draft, I will not read into any player because I used to do that a lot, and I used to read into all these different players. I used to get overly hyped about certain guys that could be or would be drafted, or look too deep into their statistics and analytics and get overly excited. And then sometimes they wouldn't work out or we wouldn't get them. So now I just kind of wait for the chips to fall where they fall. And when Nick brought up Byram and he just went off on that, like, just glowing review of this kid, I was like, yep, that's it. Now I'm sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to go back a little bit more, Eric, we aren't on drugs tonight. We're just kind of playing a little bit of hopeful wishing, seeing the reports that McDavid is very unhappy in Edmonton.
I got
I
a
did-
scenario for you guys. All right. This could happen in my little dream. You re-sign Hall. You trade for McDavid. You sign Carlson, and you get this guy, Hughes or Byram. Can you imagine?
And then we
And Mike-
immediately you erect a statue of the size of the Statue of Liberty of Ray Shero in front of the Rock.
No, not immediately. Not until we win a cup, because then we'll become the Edmonton of the East. We could
Yeah, true,
potentially be the Edmonton of the East. Even getting all those pieces, that's not what we want.
And
the worst
Mikey
thing.
and Mikey McLeod announces his sudden retirement, and he's going to go into esports.
Yeah, of course. And I would support him as much in esports as I do in hockey.
David Holiday, no. Sam being on drugs, no. Sam is just a Devils fan. That's all.
Yeah. We're trying to be optimistic, guys, because there's too much negativity and garbage floating around on the old interwebs of.
Well, I'll tell you a reason why I'm really happy today. Last week I got $10 off on my oil change at Bobby's Auto Care on 2151 Route 57, beautiful downtown Washington, New Jersey. If anybody's been through the heart of Washington, New Jersey on Route 57, it is such a beautiful town. Go there, and then on the left-hand side is to get to Bobby's is the Tank at Warren County Community College near there. Going down 57, and after you pass Bobby's, there's another beautiful city, Phillipsburg, New Jersey, the Phillipsburg Mall. Beautiful place. Maybe we should do a live event draft party at the Phillipsburg Mall. There's also, because my mother-in-law has been wanting me to do something in western part of Jersey so she can come see our live event. I was also thinking maybe Quaker Steak and Lube. It's a sports bar out there. Yeah, they got
the one with the car on the roof.
Yeah, that one. Something like that. Actually, I'm giving them a plug. We're not getting paid for it, but that would be kind of cool to go to that part of Jersey. Also, Joe English asked, are we doing a watch party for the lottery? I know the Devils are doing something. We're still trying to figure that out. What we're going to do.
Lottery or the draft? Are the Devils doing something for the lottery or the draft?
Oh, maybe I misread that. He said for the lottery. A watch party. That's in 2 days. Can we pull that off? In 2 days?
That'd be tough. For the draft, the draft is a different story. I think that would be a different story, and that would be something to look into a live event. For the lottery, I think that's something that we'll just kind of play by ear and possibly jump online after the fact. So Douglas, we don't know yet. For the lottery, probably not. For the draft, maybe.
Douglas Walker says there are 3 Washington townships in New Jersey. The beautiful downtown Washington that I'm talking about is on Route 57 and somewhere in Warren County, New Jersey. That's what I was referring to. There's definitely a lot of Washingtons in New Jersey because, heck, Washington won the Revolution when he crossed the Delaware and he went to Princeton and beat up on those redcoats. Remember the redcoats of the Meadowlands?
Yeah, they hated us. Oh, we had such a good time there. We were always. It was always great to be able to know that something was going on when you were sitting in your section in the Meadowlands, and all of a sudden you just saw a bunch of redcoats walking on the outside of the arena going toward your section. You're like, "Yep, here they come. We're in trouble now." Whether it's beach balls or popcorn, like, "Oh, here comes the trouble."
Eric Burns says Marley's has better wings, this and that. We'll figure it out. But Eric, if you're going to come to our events, I don't know if he's been to our events, but if you're going to come to our events, you better bring the M&Ms. You better bring the candy. That's all I have to say. Beer Baron, is your feed good? It looks like it's good.
I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, so you're frozen in time? You're in the flux
frozen in time.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. My computer is just it's acting funny.
Yeah. Guys, changing gears. I got some beef. I know I was typing in our group text. I got some beef. And I gotta go to my Facebook Messenger because I was talking to my fellow Devil fan Betty about because I stated something online earlier about the Devils Rangers fan collusion in the last home.
Don't get me started.
I want to talk about this because it made me mad. And I get it. It was April Fool's. And it's like, oh, yeah, we both sucked. Yeah. You do not, under any circumstances, there was only one time, and it was actually a serious thing. You do not collude with the enemy, the New York Rangers. You just don't. The only time it was ever acceptable, and unfortunately it was a horrible tragedy, it was not after 9/11. That was something special. But other than that, you do not collude with the enemy. And I know there's inter-team marriages, and I know there's inter-team dating and this and that. Okay, maybe you have it doesn't. I mean, heck.
We've talked about that. That never works.
Yeah. Let me tell you, it may work for 2 weeks, but afterwards, you just regret it for a lifetime. But it just does not even work. I don't even go there. And if you can't convince your significant other to be a Devils fan, or at least pretend to be a Devils fan, it's not worth your time. It just really isn't. And if you're looking for a Devils fan, go to Devils Singles, the Facebook group by our esteemed Melissa Molnar. Melissa, we love you. All you've done this past season, we got to get that out there. We have to do a shout out. We have started to include her in our pictures because she is our Masterson Trophy winner. She does a lot behind the scenes to help us put this podcast together. So Melissa, if you're watching, you better be. We appreciate you. Anyway, sorry, I had to get that out there. So here's my beef, and I kind of alluded to this earlier in the podcast. Growing up in the 80s, being a Devils fan, and you had my friend Jamie and like all these other guys that had parents that had cable but didn't spend the extra $10 to watch the Devils on Sports Channel, they were all Ranger fans. It was freaking hard. It took a lot of losing in the 80s, and then 94 happened. It was only till 95 where we got that counterpunch right back at that organization. McMullen hated the Rangers. In Marty's book, he hates the Rangers. I believe it's on page 271 or 71, and so does Lou. And that's a quote on one of your T-shirts. There's a plug right there.
There we
go.
Talking
about your T-shirts.
On the old Ranger Suck shirts, I actually put that quote from the book. I think it was, I hate the Rangers, but Lou hates them even more.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, yep. That was the quote from the book, which was awesome to see. And it's a rivalry, and it's you don't collude with your biggest rival. There would only be certain circumstances that you would do anything with a rival, but
anyway, so I was talking to my friend Betty about it, and I said, let me guess. It was probably a dumb millennial that didn't understand what we in our 40s and late 30s had to go through to establish and draw the line between Devils fans and Rangers fans, where it's not a 20-1 ratio. I'd say it's a much more even ratio than what it was. And Betty did some research and found the guy really proud of himself for, chanting, we both suck, we both suck, this and that, whatever. I'll just say that I'm not going to give him the platform, say his name or whatever. But if you're listening out there, you know who you are. I know you're probably joking around. You didn't put a little thought to it. You thought it was funny. But honestly, if I were there, I'd probably put an end to that immediately. That's all I have to say. That's my beef. That's just my beef.
First of all, it became like such a joke on social media where everybody was like, "Look at this." It's like a blemish. You know what I mean? Like it's like, "Oh, look at these morons! Look at these morons that are rooting with their bitter rival." I hate everything about this. I hate everything about it. And when we were talking about it the other day, I was pissed off. I was like angry about it to the point where I had to like calm down for a second. I'm like, this is, this is sports. I shouldn't be this angry about something. But it makes me so angry. Like if I was at the game and I heard this happening, like, I don't know. It just, like you said, you don't collude with the rival. You don't collude with your biggest rival. You don't join in and huck it up with them. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't do it. You just don't do it. National tragedies, that's one thing, but when you're having a crappy season and they're having a crappy season, that shouldn't, you don't sit there and go, man, hey, we both suck. This is great. Let's go yuck it up. It sucked. I hate it. I hate chanting like the "you suck" chant when we're losing in a game, when we're losing like 8-2 and we score a goal and we're like, you suck. It's like, no, there's time and a place. I know you feel differently about that, but I mean, like, I don't know.
I think really the first problem, is there are too many Ranger fans in the building for a Devil Ranger game. That's the first problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly because they can't afford to go. Exactly. Yeah, they cannot afford to go see their team play in their arena. So that's really the first problem. And the biggest problem is it's going to a Devil Ranger game. It's such a 50-50 split, and it should never be. It should be at well, I would love 100% Devil fans for a Devil Ranger game. However, I think a 90-10 is acceptable, so you have a little bit of something there to start, shouting back and forth at people. But that's really the biggest problem is the fact that in a Devil Ranger game that so many Ranger fans are able to get into our building and have a presence. Not only just be there, but have a presence like that. So that's my big problem with that. And that's been going on for a long time. And it's gotten worse over the last couple of years, especially as the Manhattan garbage dump has been raising their prices, up and up and up and up. So it really, Eric said 75-25 at best. I don't even know if 75-25.
25. It's worse.
I'd go 90-10. 90-10. Because you want something.
I thought you meant like what it actually is at this moment. I mean,
no. I'd say
that way worse than that.
It is way worse. But.
So Douglas Walker writes in my private viewing party of this podcast. My wife is a Rangers fan, so he's in the inter-team marriage. My wife is a Rangers fan, and she won't watch Ranger games anymore. Number one, because I don't watch them in my house. And number two, when Scott Gomez signed with them, I spewed so much hatred at him that she said, that's enough. You've ruined hockey for me. You know what Douglas Walker deserves?
Good for you,
Douglas Walker deserves our infamous Gomez pesos that we made when he went to the Rangers, which is actually real currency outside of the Prudential Center. I do have a picture of it. I'm going to try to load it up in the computer. I forgot to do that. I'll put a picture of that Gomez pesos that somebody made that was also given to Barry Melrose when he visited Newark, saying that, hey, all's forgiven. Here's some Gomez pesos. Go spend it, somewhere at a hot dog stand or whatever. So anyway,
we had such a good time when Barry Melrose came to the bar. He had to eat his own words. That was such a great.
Actually, I had a cube of Ranger Suck confetti, and first off, I dangled the wallet. Wallet.
Yes, you did.
On a fishing rod, right in front of them. And on top of that, I decided I had a cubes that were held up by rubber band of Ranger Suck confetti, and I threw it up in the air, hit the ceiling, and then they would disperse into confetti. Well, one of them did not disband, and my throw was so bad that I nailed his bodyguard right in the eye at the bar. And after that, I took my little fishing rod and wallet with the Gomez pesos inside, and I just ducked and then just kind of waltzed my way out. There's actually a YouTube video of somewhat of where we were there. Fox 5.
Yeah, it was from the news. It was from the news report from that night.
called Linda Schmidt, the reporter. I thought she was Penny Crone, and she gave me this dirty look, and I was like, "Oh, okay, it's over."
They're two old names from New York news.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, but Cheryl said, and I pinned her comment because she said, "Thank you for this. You never say your team sucks. Never be in cahoots with the Rangers." Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for coming to our event. I met your husband. I don't know if I said hi to you or not, but thank you for saying that. And I hope you enjoy your Brian Boyle poster that you had won through our podcast. We're giving away stuff sometimes and this and that. We gave away bobbleheads. I mean, it's been a great year. We had Doc Emmerich, Cangelosi, this and that. Like, I was reflecting our season finale. I'm like, we had a heck of a year. I mean, there are a lot of other things I wanted to do, but I mean, we did some damage, and this is growing to the point where eventually we're going to be going to road games together on our private jet, but we'll start off with the bus first, this and that. You want to talk about anti-collusion? I want to go to freaking Madison Square Garden with 100 of our podcast fans. We'll do a podcast somewhere in New York and invade their place and turn it into Newark for a day. And then we march along after the podcast, our pregame podcast, to MSG with a bunch of Devils fans and just be absolutely obnoxious the entire game. And if your team is sucking, and to Beer Baron's point, I think there's a good point about saying you suck. But you know what? When you go to Madison Square Garden and all that kind of stuff, and you know your team, the Devils, are sucking, just deny. Do you know how annoying that is to the Rangers fans when you just don't care and you just overpower them with your Devils fandemonium? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, you just go and have a good time. That's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Douglas Walker, you mean like acting like Philly fans?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. If you go into MSG, you have that Philly mentality.
Yeah, just without the inbreeding, okay? We don't kiss our sisters. We don't do that. But
I have to say this, and I take back something that I said earlier in the year where we were talking about like booing our own team, and I said you never boo your own team. And I was just thinking about this, and I'm like, I never boo my own team except if you see that they're absolutely dogging it and it's a terrible result on the ice, or like the team doesn't have their heart in it. I think it's the only time you boo them. But you just don't chant. You like, our team sucks. Like, then why go to the game? Why go? Why sit next to a Ranger fan and yuck it up? Like, why do it?
What about brown bag over your? Would you approve that? A brown bag over your head?
It's really funny. And
when the Ranger fans do it.
Yeah, we're not the Saints, but a brown bag on the head is like a funny thing. But I don't know. I don't find that as offensive as like saying we suck. Like, fucking, we don't say that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, and it's like when it comes to booing your own team, there definitely does come a point, especially if your team's not doing well, like you said, and they're just looking like absolute garbage, that you have to remind them that, you know what, it's like there's a logo on the front that, that we hold. Let's face it, we're going to hold that logo on the front of that jersey in higher regard and for a much longer time in our lives than a lot of those players will. So I
just got to address Joe. He goes, I think we need pork roll hats like cheese heads. No, it's Taylor ham. Okay, it's not pork
Taylor ham, Joe.
Taylor ham. This is Taylor ham programming. All right, enough.
This is brought to you by Taylor Ham. Jake really wanted us to say he watched Hines get his first NHL win in OT at the MSG, and a bunch of Rags fans tried to fight him after the game just because the Devils won. Sounds about right.
Yeah, no, it sounds about right. Actually, it sounds better for Philly fans. It sounds more like a Philly thing than a New York thing, but it'll still work for New York too.
Shorts guy, Beer Baron. We got to design Taylor Ham hats for Devils games.
Okay, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
It would just take those old puck heads. You remember those old puck heads that they used to
Oh
have?
yeah.
Take those and just paint it like an off brown color, and then put grill marks on the top, and then boom, there you go.
There you go. That'll
Good
work.
job.
Taylor Ham, and then take like the little triangle cut out of it,
And
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what?
Taylor Ham hat.
You know what we could do? We should make about 100 of these, and then sell them on our site, so we can help pay for this private jet, the $35 million jet, and have our fans wear that on the jet.
I guarantee that jet will smell like Taylor Ham. The inside, you'll walk in and there'll be like a mini plate just cooking Taylor Ham.
Yeah, I'm down for that one. That's for sure.
Delicious. Heart attack midair.
It'll smell like Taylor Ham and beer. That's all that'll be available on the jet. Taylor Ham and beer. That's it. What would you like to eat? Taylor Ham. Sure, that's all we got. What would you like to drink? Beer. Good. That's all we got.
The stewardess just walks around with a defibrillator. You guys all right? Yeah, we're all right. I'd like to have another Taylor Ham, please.
I think the podcast officially has left the rails. This is what happened on the last episode.
It's the last one of the
It
season.
just fell off the rails.
Should we talk about our summer schedule before we? Because some people
absolutely.
have asked, is this the last podcast till September, October? The quick answer is no. It's just a season 2 finale. But I think Beer
Ends on a
Baron,
mediocre note.
Beer Baron, Shorts Guy, and I have been doing this literally 20 months straight. Other than the little break we had last summer for about a couple weeks, and we did a Hawaii podcast in the middle of it. And what we're going to do is we'll still have a Sunday podcast, but it could be a replay, or it could be something that happened earlier in the week, or it could be something pre-recorded, something a little bit of a lighter version, but we're going to aim towards more of a pop-up podcast, such as a possible, maybe Tuesday. We're not sure yet. We'll discuss off air. The draft. If we do something in the summer, if we bring some of our friends out, maybe we'll do it at Bruce Driver's rink at Twin Oaks, where the champion Morristown Beard girls ice hockey team plays. Maybe we'll do something there. We may go to Tavern in 9 Wall Street in beautiful Rockaway, New Jersey. We're talking to our good friend Jeff about that.
Yeah, I went to dinner with him, and that's why I keep yawning. Is like I had a nice big carne asada steak and a couple of drinks. It hit me, and I should have had coffee, man. I'm done.
Also, I know that I like to talk to Cangelosi. His thoughts of the season, but schedule. We got to thank our guests that we've had, like Doc Emmerich, Arlette, Pete, Kevin. They all make their time on a Sunday night to do a live broadcast, and scheduling can be very, very difficult with that. We've had, and again, you guys know, we had potential big time guests that couldn't do the Sunday broadcast, and especially last week. We had somebody in mind, but again, it's hard. It's to have the flexibility to do pop-up podcasts midweek, just to adhere to a guest schedule, makes it so much easier for us to get those guests. It's not easy getting these guests, on the podcast. We've solicited notable names that cover the Devils. It doesn't work. I mean, these people cover the Devils, and they work very. They need some time to themselves, and we respect that. But to have that flexibility for our summer programming, we may have a podcast, we may not. We may have 4 podcasts in 1 week because there's something. If there's a big trade that Connor McDavid's coming to New Jersey, you bet we're going to make time for that. Heck, we will be the first. Yes. We'll have to pull, Beer Baron and myself and Shorts Guy, and get in front of our, our cameras and go. If I have to pull over the side of the road and produce the podcast there, I'll do it.
Whatever's got to be done.
We will do that. Also, the amount of support we got. I mean, look, we didn't even have. We started a podcast and we weren't even iTunes where podcast resides. Okay, this time last year we probably had maybe we had a lot of Facebook Live viewers, but we only had 60 downloads total up in this point last year. But now we're over 5,000, and it's growing exponentially. And we want to do the right thing and just let it grow organically. And we have to thank, obviously, our listeners, our fans. We've met a lot of random people, new people. We had some great times. We thank you for that. But I think one of my special moments was at our event at Mother's when Arlette, we did a concert, a mini concert with Arlette. Then she sang our opening intro, the theme song, which is the national anthem, live in front of a live audience. Right? We did a live podcast, and then we had a live viewing party afterwards. How cool was that?
Fun. Wow. That was a ton of fun.
Melissa getting Bruce Driver, helping us get Bruce Driver onto the podcast, the live event, and him wearing the Rangers Suck T-shirt, and setting the record straight why he played for the Rangers. I think it means a lot to him that he was able to get that out in his own words and express himself, and him holding the replica Stanley Cup as well at our event. Obviously we met
Grant Marshall, who was amazing.
Yep.
So much fun to hang out with.
Yep. Also, me bombing that whole Taylor Ham joke with Doc Emmerich, and then having
he'll never come back on again.
No, he will. He will.
He's never going to come back on
afterwards.
I know. I'm kidding.
Let me tell this story about Doc Emmerich. So he sends me an email after that interview. He sends me an email apologizing, not understanding the whole breakfast sandwich thing in the end there. And I spent 45 minutes in an email, writing an email explaining the Taylor Ham pork roll controversy to a Hall of Fame legend sports broadcaster about it. And I don't think he got it. And then once I sent him a few links of the controversy, then I think he understood what I was aiming for. But that was definitely one of those moments where it's kind of, thinking you're going to crash and burn, but you kind of save it in the end. We'll definitely have him back sometime, next season. Also, hey, I'll let out of the bag who we did try to get, but obviously logistics. Should I let out of the bag who we tried to get?
Nah, let's keep that a little bit.
Yeah,
let's keep that a little bit behind the curtain.
Keep them guessing. It was a big
name.
We'll
keep them guessing. Keep everyone guessing.
But you guys can guess who I'm talking about in our little group text.
Yeah, because when that person comes on, they'll be like, "Oh man."
Yeah, exactly. But we also had Bill Clement on. Remember, I went down to Philly before his show. It was Shorts Guy and I. We did one of those short shifts mini podcasts, which I think we'll do more of that this summer. That was fun, and we were talking about Mackenzie Blackwood, and Bill's like, Mackenzie Blackwood, Private Eye. That sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun this season, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knew? Who knew? And thank you to all of
Yeah.
our friends out there. You know, Doug, Joe, Robert, Eric, all three of you, all the Joes, all the Jake. Even though Jake bust my balls about Mikey McLeod, Gary, David Holiday. Thanks for repping us up in Edmonton. I can't literally go down the list and name everybody, but I do want you guys to all know that we appreciate you, and if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have this show. The support of our friends, our family.
Totally.
You know, like my in-laws always listening, which is always hilarious. They don't even like hockey, but they still listen. My wife and my father-in-law for having us at the bar and doing the live events, which he said that we were, definitely open and willing to do more. So, and honestly, it's been a blast. Season 2, hanging out with you two, talking hockey every Sunday night, something I look forward to every week. And I can't thank you guys enough for this, and I can't thank all of our fans, even though we had a crappy season. Whatever, you know what, the future is bright.
Absolutely. And I think we can't not thank Rob Klamosis and the Devil's Diehards, who are always there.
Oh yeah,
at all of our events and repping us at signings and in their Facebook group. And it was a good friendship to start that I'm sure will just grow from for years to come, which is nice. So yeah, it's been a fantastic season. Just a general. There's too many names to name, but thank you to everyone.
Mother's Ale House, all the people.
Mother's Ale.
That place was awesome.
Bobby's Auto Care.
Bobby's Auto Care.
Nova Product Design. The people that help literally put the technical stuff together for us to to get us on the podcast, so we don't have to go over to Beer Baron's house and raid his fridge.
I tell you, I mean, I can't wait until we have our next live viewing party, and we'll talk about this off air. But let's see what happens on Tuesday. Let's see what number they draft, because if they're drafting number 1 overall, I think we need to make a big deal out of it. So we'll talk about that.
Absolutely, we do. And we'll find out Tuesday. Tuesday's our draft lottery.
That's right. Hey, does anybody know what time they're doing that? Are they doing it at 6 o'clock at night, or are they doing it at noon?
I gotta imagine it's later in the evening. I'll look it up real quick.
Come on, David Holiday. You should know this. Tell us the Eastern Standard Time.
Let's see.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Thanks, Jake.
Now I wonder if that's going to be. Now it's a 1-hour show, so I wonder if that's going to be 50 minutes of just showing how bad the bottom 5 teams just were all season, and then the last 2 minutes, it'll be like the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting, just a bunch of schlock, and then at the very end, it's like, boom, here you go, and we're done. Goodbye. Credits.
Exactly.
Roll it down the screen.
I think that's when they figured out that Nico was going to be number 1 overall, or not Nico, but when they figured out the Devils were going to pick number 1 overall when we got Nico. All I remember is finding out, put it on and sitting there watching the whole thing, and then it was over in a flash. It felt like, but it did feel like it took forever. So it's probably going to be a bunch of lead up and a bunch of all right, who's going to pick number 3 after this break, and then go to a crummy commercial about Geico.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't there this visible look of disappointment when the Devils got the first overall pick? When we were announced, am I
from Joe
thinking wrong?
From Joe Sakic, because Colorado was supposed to pick number 1 and they got screwed.
Yeah, okay, so all right, so I am remembering correctly. If there was that visible look of disappointment, so
he just looked up and he goes, "You got to be kidding me!"
And watch. They have a chance to get it with this year. Well, yeah, watch. They have a chance to get it this year again with Ottawa being so bad, and they still don't get it, which would be great.
Oh God, they don't need it.
So, no. What a year for Ottawa to be bad. The year that you don't have that pick. Ottawa's hoping that it's not a 1 overall.
Hopefully,
Anyway.
hopefully the Devils get the #1 overall pick, and then when they announce who they're going to pick, they make a trade, and suddenly Connor McDavid is a New Jersey Devil. They trade the pick away.
No, I don't know.
And
man.
you know what? Whoever, if we have first overall, and let's say this situation happens, Sam, you know that whoever is going to be picked first overall is going to be like, oh no, Edmonton.
Yeah. Where dreams go to die. No offense to David Holiday.
All right, I hear the music. Sam, you cutting us off?
All right, so we'll be back Tuesday after the lottery. We'll talk about it off air,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we'll talk about
Okay.
there. One of us, at least one of us, will be there to talk about it.
Oh,
One of us.
One of us. There's 3 of us. At least one will be available. But yeah, look for us Tuesday after the draft lottery. We'll talk about what we have for draft pick. So look for that on Tuesday. Set all your accounts to have alerts when the Devils Let's Go when the Let's Go Devils podcast decides to go live randomly. The best thing you can do is just set an alert so that it pops up and you can watch us right then and there wherever you are.
Yeah.
Hopefully
who
not
knows
while
what we're
driving.
gonna talk
All right.
about. All right. It's late.
We're going
It's
into
late.
our summer schedule. Till
my,
next
my
time.
golf club is already packed. Let's go.
Go.
Till next time. We don't know when we'll see you again. Let's
Tuesday.
go, Devils.